Hello, my name is Adam Murray and welcome to Extra Time. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel as it really helps us out. Tonight we are delighted to be joined by one of Ireland's best, Waterford hurler and three-time All Star Jamie Barron. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thanks very much, Adam.
And I suppose starting out playing with the Nire and Foreman Water, when would you start playing? What was that like growing up in the Nire?
I suppose I started at a very young age. I had an uncle that played on the Waterford minor team in 1992. He was on that panel. Brian McCarthy was his name. He was on that panel, and I suppose when I was very young, it was something that stuck in my head. I got into hurling, I suppose, straight away, football as well. My grandmother was a local teacher in the primary school, and she was huge into GA as well. So that was a big thing for me. I remember just going to games with my father. I remember going to Páirc Uí Chaoimh in 2002. I suppose I was probably 10 or 11 then, or whatever it was. But yeah, I remember just from a very young age getting into it. Parents drove me on a lot, grandparents, uncles, stuff like that. Yeah, so it was always in me. So I was just eager to get at it from a very young age.
And were you on any development squads going up through the ages?
Underage, I was on the Sonny Welsh under 14. So that's the second team. 21st would be the A. Under 16, I didn't really make any underage squads, no, up until minor. I made the minor when I was under 17, and that was my first real taste of playing at Waterford, really. And then from then it just kind of took off. I kind of found my feet playing minor, and after that then it was just all systems going. I seen how much I really enjoyed it back then, and it really just drove me on to keep going at it.
And Jamie, I was talking to a fella just a couple of weeks ago, just about senior hurling in general, and it really hit home was we talk about 4 Mile in the Nire. I would say per head of population that you probably had more county players than anyone. Like even taking away the football, I was thinking to myself, my first I came up against Pat Welsh, then you had Brian Wall, right? Then you go Shane Welsh, then you've yourself, Connor, right? Shane Ryan, and like even lads coming up now, you know, the Aaron Ryan, Sean Welsh under 20 extended panel. Like for a small enough area that wouldn't consider themselves a superpower in hurling, you've had phenomenal amount of county players.
Yeah, I suppose each age group have someone to look up to ahead of them. I suppose for me, as you said, I remember going to county football finals watching Pat Welsh. Then you had Brian Wall. I remember watching him playing Páirc Uí Chaoimh there. I think he filled in for Tony Brown just before the game. I remember he went in. Then I always had Shane Lawler, or Shane Welsh and Liam Lawler. They were kind of the people just ahead of me who were, when I came on the panel, they kind of coaxed me along, brought me to train and stuff like that. They betted me, and so then it just follows on. I suppose Connor's after me. My brother then is on the panel as well, so at the moment, so it's just a knock-on effect, really. I think when you have good kind of tradition in the club, a lot of good players, a lot of good underage management structures within the club, I think it's easy enough. The pathway is there for us to really go at it if we really want to, and I think we've a lot of driven players in the club as well, which is huge.
And you mentioned the minor there. You were a cornerback when you were a minor. How did you find that playing back there?
At the time, I was delighted to be playing. It was my first time ever getting a chance to really Waterford, and I was delighted to be playing at all. I suppose I was put in cornerback in, I think it was Harty Cup when I was under 15 on the Dacia College's team. And we had a very good team, but we were playing lots of good teams, and was each game I ended up probably on the best forward that they had, and I kind of done well enough that year, I suppose. A lot of good players around the country there, like Clare lads, Tipperary had serious players, Thurles, St. Flannan's, all them teams, and I probably just gained confidence from that, and it spiraled on to making the panel, the under 17 panel, and then after that it was kind of just knock-on effect again. Made minor the next year, and then the under 21, and they were all just stepping stones then up to senior.
And what year did you first join the Waterford panel?
I joined it in 2013, which is nearly 8 years ago now. So it's a good while ago now.
And Jamie, like, obviously we all know, like, you're a three-time All-Star in the middle of the field. I suppose when I was growing up, I look back to Clare, so you had actually massive men in the middle of the field, like Ollie Baker and Colin Lynch, and you had Peter Creeley, and very physical around the middle. And I suppose then the first iteration is Jerry O'Connor and Tom Kenny, much more, I suppose, fluid, quick, much more skillful players playing midfield. And I suppose then we come to you. Like, do you think that really you kind of benefited from that evolution of this? Not, I wouldn't say small, because you're not a small man in terms of strength, but you are quick, incredibly quick, skillful player, and you kind of bring the nous of both defender and attack in the middle.
Yeah, I suppose you just kind of have to evaluate yourself really and see what your strengths are and your weaknesses are. So for me, I suppose I was working on speed, probably footwork, trying to have your skill levels as high as they can be. I suppose if it's aerial ability and stuff like that, I'd probably be lacking in that in comparison to probably like Michael Fennelly and them. But I think you have to try find ways around that. So looking at Jerry O'Connor, probably Tom Kenny, players like that, you see how they were able to adapt their game to be able to compete with the bigger players such as your Ollie Bakers or whatever. So I think every player just has to find their own way of getting around their opponent, whatever that is, and then you have to work on that to the best of your ability to just play it off in the game,
And looking back to 2017, you obviously came very close to Waterford in the All Ireland, but how do you reflect on that looking back now?
Yeah, it's still a one I think we probably should have won. It's a tough one to take. I suppose at the time you're kind of young. Well, I was 23. You kind of think that there's more years, a lot more years where you will be in an All-Ireland finals. But we've seen after that, we 2 very bad years. We got back to it this year. But looking back, we were really there. I think it was the 50th minute, probably level. It's just you just think of things. How could you have done something different at that moment to get a ball or score or something just to change the game in your own favour? It's hard. It's something you'd kind of just think about a lot. Trying to, if you get there again in that position, what would you do different to change the outcome? But yeah, it's still very disappointing. Very disappointing. I remember afterwards and the few days after were very tough as well. So something you wouldn't want to be experiencing too much anyway.
And was midfield always your first choice of position?
Midfield probably ended up my first choice. Yeah, it wasn't a position that I ever played too much. With my club, I usually played in the forwards, which is school, and underage with Waterford, it was probably in the back. So I think just by default, I ended up in the middle. So yeah, look, I think you need to be fit for around there and stuff like that, and that's something that kind of comes naturally enough to me. So I'm happy enough to be there, and it's easy enough to get up and down the field. So I think it's probably the best suited to me anyway.
And Jamie, these youngsters, they don't seem to remember at past 2019 at this stage. But can you just give them, like, how has the game changed? Like you said, you started in 2013, and I suppose, like, you've kind of gotten, I keep going back to the All-Stars, but you've been able to adapt your game very much so over the last 5 or 6 years. So in your own recollection, like, how has the game changed in those, I suppose, 8 years since you started?
Yeah, massively, to be honest. It's crazy how much has changed. Even just from when I came on the panel in 2013, I think training-wise and commitment-wise, it's gone through the roof. It's every day you're doing something, whether it's training hard, trying to recover through active recovery, or you're going to the pitch or something like that. When I started back, it was kind of back in 2013, it was your 2 nights on the pitch, maybe a bit of gym work. On the other nights, maybe now, not set in stone or anything. But now it's just every day you're on it, your sleep, you're trying to get to bed early, you're trying to get up early to have a good breakfast. And even just the physical side of things, I think back in 2013 up to maybe even 2017, I think the physicality of it all was less. I think you could maybe get through tackles a lot easier. I think now probably Limerick maybe have turned it in that way, that physically they're huge men. To get through a tackle, you need to break one, and then there's another fella on you. So I think gym work has gone through the roof in that regard. And then you just have to keep trying to find ways to beat the physicality or whatever. Try to look for different ways. I think if you're just training in order to match their physicality, they probably still have your best. So you have to try to find a different way to get around these teams, you know. So I think it's gone very, very far now in preparation wise. Definitely.
And what was the feeling like when you won that first All Star a few years ago?
Yeah, it was a moment supposed to be proud. I suppose I was a few years on the panel without ever breaking through onto the team. So that was probably my first goal. Then when you're on the team, you just want to do your best for the team, you know, and wherever that takes you, who knows? Ultimately, you want to win All Ireland, you want to win a Munster final, all these things. And look, if other things like All Stars come along, by trying to be your best, then you have to, I suppose, be happy with that. I suppose it's huge for your club as well, especially your club. I think you're trying all the time to just bring along the next generation within your club, and I think hopefully through seeing that things like that can be achieved, you're hopefully bringing on the next generation, which will drive everything up in standards and levels again.
And how has your pre-season been?
Pre-season has been grand. We didn't have as much slogging now in the wet weather or anything, which is great. I suppose we were left to our own devices, where they were kind of sent out running programs during the week, some weight programs to do, which was grand. It was nice to get a break. I think if you keep going all year round without any break, I think it just wears you down eventually. So I think we definitely needed a small bit of a break. We got 2 or 3 months, so we're all fairly fresh now. We're all back. Training is intense at the moment, but we're delighted. And yeah, the break was nice.
And Jamie, I suppose, look, if we go back to last year a small bit, like there's this kind of, you probably heard it yourself around this kind of, I would call it a myth or undercurrent around the county that, oh sure, the system didn't suit Waterford with the 4 teams in the group, and we're better off now with the straight not straight knockout, but the back door. Like, I'm assuming that you, being a player, you want the games every week. You want to play against the best. The more games you get, the less training you do.
Yeah. Look, matches. It's all about matches. All you want is matches. I think the amount of training that we do for, let's say, 5 matches in a year is crazy, really. When you think about probably professional soccer players, we probably train as hard as them. They probably play 60 games in a year, where we play maybe, I'd say, if you include the league, maybe 10 in the year, you know? So it's a crazy, crazy amount of training that's put in just to play probably 5 or 6 top matches. So all we want is matches, really, at the end of the day. Training becomes a bit monotonous if you're trained and your end goal is probably 14 weeks away or something like that, which it can be at times, you know. So yeah, matches all the time. I don't know what way it's going to go after the pandemic. Will they resort back to the groups or whatever? But we'd be delighted to have that back as well. We'd like to be playing them games every week.
And you're also a good footballer. Would you consider playing the football for Waterford if the hurling hadn't worked out?
I'm not sure. I love playing the football when I go back to the club. I nearly enjoy it more than playing the hurling at times. I think it's a release, and just you just get to go down training and really enjoy it. Sometimes you get caught up in the hurling, where it's kind of results based and you want to be the best all the time. And sometimes when you go back playing the football, you can just chill out, have the crack. Obviously we're mad to win it and we train hard as well and all that, but you can relax a small bit, I find. Would I play at Waterford? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't know if they'd ask me anyway for one, but I think I might have gave it a year or two, see how it went. To be nice. Well, I think there's a lot of very, very good footballers within the county that are on even our hurling panel. It'd be interesting to see if a lot of them lads played. Tyg Burke and Brian O'Halloran, Brick used to be unbelievable at football as well, you know. So it would be nice if we all got a chance to play it, but unfortunately I think the hurling is going to win out.
And is your goal now to go win that All Ireland?
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. You don't know how many years, I suppose, you'll be playing, or if an injury will hit or anything like that. So I think the goal is definitely on Ireland. I think if you look at our panel and stuff like that, we've a lot of minor All Ireland winners, under 21 All Ireland winners. So the players are there, and it's just a matter of us trying to get the best out of ourselves to win the All Ireland. And look, hopefully in the next year, 2 or 3, we will do that.
And I suppose, look, Jamie, before we let you go there, I remember reading an interesting article. I suppose from yourself a few years ago, people often give out about players giving or just standard answers, and then you kind of give a fresh take, I suppose, saying, look, you became a teacher because it definitely helps your intercounty career. Now, I'm a teacher. I played football for Waterford. I can definitely tell you it definitely helps. And of course, the guy working in construction every single day, but like even for yourself, like getting that work-life balance right between hurling, work, and even just socialising, is that really important, especially to turn off when the season is over?
Yeah, 100%. I think you can just get fixated on sports at times. I'd find myself sometimes just fixated. You're nearly thinking of it when we're in a group of people, even, which isn't a good thing. I think you just need to set aside time. You're in work, you're working. When you're training, and when you're on your downtime, just take your downtime, relax and switch off, because I think to have hunger and to have a healthy relationship with your sport, you need to do that. I think if you're thinking about things 24/7, you end up going to the pitch and a far train, and you don't actually even perform on what you were thinking all the time, because you're nearly over-analysing it, and you're getting the ball and you're two or three steps ahead of yourself. So I think just when you are working, you're working. When you're taking your time off, take your time off. And then when you go train and really zone in for whatever it is, the 2.5 or 3 hours you're there, and then relax again, if you can do that.
I'd like to thank Jamie for joining us tonight, and we wish you and the panel all the best in 2021. Again, can I ask you to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, and we'll have more big guests to come next week, so keep an eye on our social media pages, and we'll see you soon on Extra Time.